Hello friends, it's Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums with another weekly check-in. We're doing this on a Monday again. I may just keep it up this way, we'll see. Sometimes my Mondays are a little bit more quiet in my house, so I can actually do recordings versus a weekend. So this will be for the week of Monday, November 17th through, we'll say Sunday. Ooh, what is Sunday? I think it's going to be November 24th. So I hope everyone is feeling okay. I've been very tired. I know we have the retrogrades going on. We have a full moon in Taurus, I think on Tuesday or Wednesday this week. So I am starting to feel a little bit of that, whatever. I've been super busy. We're going to ignore those. That was just me not shuffling good. So let's get into it and see what we need to know as a collective for this week. So what do we need to know this week? We have death reversed. All right, what do we need to do as a collective? We have the Crown of Coins, which is going to be the Queen of Pentacles reversed. All right, what do we need to release as a collective? We have the Nine of Wands reverse. And what do we need to contemplate this week? We have awakening or judgment. So let's get into what this week will bring, especially with all of these reversed cards. I do like having the cards interpret and reflect back what the astrological placements are doing at the current moments. I think it's nice. All right, so what we need to know. When I think of the death card, I think it's one of these cards that tends to kind of scare people away. It tends to kind of make them, I don't want to say confront, but maybe consider their mortality and what it means. But when I think of death, I think of it more as a reminder of what needs to be let go of. What do we need to kind of open ourselves up to the possibility of shifting through? What transformation is trying to take place? Now, with this being reversed, I feel like this is going to be more of an internalization of things. So there may not be big physical transformation, metamorphosis, rebirth happening in a way that maybe feels quite tangible for many of us. But I think that the death card reversed is that it is kind of saying there's something within you that is trying to shift. There's something that you need to let go of. Maybe there is some sort of inner story that is ready to be released, is ready to kind of be transformed into something else. Maybe there is an opportunity here for you to take a step back and really reflect on all of the different chapters that you've lived through in your life and all of the different things that you've learned along the way. So when I think of the death card, I think that it's very much this invitation to kind of say, hey, what have you not been ready to release? What have you been hanging on to that maybe doesn't really reflect the sort of things you want for yourself moving forward? So when I think of this energy, especially with this kind of saying, like, this is what we need to know, is that maybe this week is not so much about hurrying up and finishing things out and trying to get through the next chapter and just trying to kind of make momentum happen for the sake of it. I think the death card is essentially an invitation to say, maybe there's something within me that I've been hanging on to that is not really reflecting the sort of transformation that I want in my life. Maybe there's something that I've been hanging on to that doesn't really make sense in the grand scheme of things. So maybe it's not going to be like this big, great closing of a door and ending of a chapter. It might be something as simple as choosing to change how you perceive something, completing a certain perspective within yourself that maybe no longer makes sense for the things that you're trying to do moving forward. I know for me, I'm working on my own kind of personal limitations on what I'm able to receive, to be able to allow myself to live in a very comfortable and abundant life without feeling like I have to struggle through in order to make it happen. It's hard. It's hard work. It's never easy, right? So I think this death rebirth card being reversed is kind of allowing us to take a step back, look within, check in with ourselves, and really truly pay attention to, where are we really holding ourselves back? What sort of things are we hanging on to that don't really make sense for the next step and for the place we want to be in? So we've moved right along to what we need to do. We have the Queen of Pentacles, I believe. You know what? Let me double check. All right. It's actually the King of Coins, or King of Pentacles reversed. So I was close. It's been a while since I have gone through this deck and really used it. So we're going to pretend that we had it right the first time. All right. So with the King of Pentacles, I feel like this is such an interesting energy, especially with what we need to do. And given that it's like Scorpio season, we have this full moon in Taurus this week. I feel like when I think of the King of Pentacles, I think of like this kind of very determined, very focused, very earthy sort of energy, in the sense of someone that maybe is just like grinding and doing what they need to do to kind of get through the week or the day. They're not really focusing on a lot of other things when it comes to, let's say, like distractions. And so I think the energy so far with the King of Pentacles is that it's really talking about, what are our responsibilities? What are we doing in order to kind of gain that? I think that maybe it is a reminder of what responsible leadership means to us as individuals, if that makes sense. And I think that this being, again, reversed, this is more of an internalized lesson. Maybe there's something within ourselves that we're like, I should be doing this, or I should be here, or I should be doing that, or I should have been focused on this and that. And I think the energy here is kind of saying like, all right, that's nice, but what are we doing in order to kind of get to the next place? What are we doing in order to kind of reshape and refocus our energy in a way that feels like it is honoring what we want, who we are, and what we value? I think with the King of Pentacles, it can kind of be seen as a little bit of like this boring kind of grown-up shit sort of energy, maybe a little bit too stuck in their ways, too stuck in like their routines. And so I think that this is kind of saying like, maybe this isn't a time to be so focused on, I just got to get through it, I got to keep doing the same thing I've been doing. Maybe this is asking us to take a little bit of a step outside of that comfort zone and kind of make sure like we're taking care of ourselves. I feel like it's a reflection back onto the Queen of Pentacles energy. And it's kind of asking us to look at, are we nurturing ourselves? Are we taking care of our space? Are we taking care of our home? Are we, showing up for ourselves in a way that feels stable? Are we, ensuring that we're doing things that really feel at home for us? When I think of the Pentacles suit, I also want to be reminded of, what behaviors am I exhibiting? What behaviors am I focusing on? So I think the energy with this King of Pentacles reversed with what we need to do is that maybe we need to kind of tune back into, how are we behaving? Are we showing up in ways that are authentic to what we need and what we want? Are we just being stubborn to be stubborn? Like, maybe this is a time to kind of be a little bit more receptive and nurture ourselves a little bit more. Now, I know as the cooler months happen, as there's a little bit more darkness, we tend to kind of keep trying to push through at the same pace that we have all year. And unfortunately, it really goes against nature in a lot of ways. And I know that our lives don't always allow us to take it a little bit slower, take it a little bit easier. I know for me, this is personally the busiest time of year. And I do tend to really struggle with like having, not to say like a healthy boundary, but maybe setting better boundaries between, my urge and necessity to be like, I have to make my coins. And then also like, I need to take care of myself because I'm no longer a spring chicken, and I don't always recover quite as quickly as I would like. So I think the King of Pentacles reversed here with what we need to do is maybe kind of take a step back and kind of look at, you know, am I taking care of myself? Am I handling myself? Am I being responsible in the way that I'm leading myself in things? And if not, maybe it's a time to kind of reflect on why. Why am I not making that a priority? Why am I not taking care of that for myself? All right, with what we need to release, we have the Nine of Wands reversed. Now, the Nine of Wands is typically this card that really talks about overextension in some way. It talks about, you know, maybe having to take a step back and to reconsider like what we're doing. We're almost there, but maybe we're like pushing a little too hard. With this being what we need to release is that maybe while, you know, the Death card reversed and the King of Pentacles reversed cards are kind of saying like, hey, there's a lot of internalized work that's going on. The Nine of Wands is kind of saying like, but this isn't necessarily a time to get stuck on what that pulse is doing and what's going on there. I feel like with what we need to release here is that maybe we've been a little bit blocked about, you know, where is this taking us? What are we doing with this? Like, what are we working towards? Nines tend to be a reminder of us being very close to the end of something, but maybe hanging on to certain elements or aspects of what we want and what we've been doing. When I think of wands, I think it's fire energy, right? So it's very fast. It's the spark of life. It's, you know, creativity and passion and drive. And maybe right now we just feel like there's not a lot of that going on in the way that we would like. It doesn't mean that things aren't happening. It's just that maybe things aren't quite coming together the way that we had anticipated, or maybe we're kind of lacking a little bit in the sense of imagination and creativity and kind of like what we want to do, or maybe how we're executing things right now. So maybe we're just feeling a little bit, not to say blocked, but maybe a little bit like we're being pulled back a little bit to kind of take a step back and pay attention to what that will look like for us moving forward. So I think that the Nine of Wands is maybe here as a reminder that we don't always have to kind of push and push and push until we have no more energy. It's maybe about tuning into the things that are feeding our energy, that are allowing us to kind of feel that creative push and kind of move into the next thing. And then what we need to contemplate, we have the Judgment card or Awakening in this deck. Now, Judgment is one of these cards that I feel is a very heavy sort of energy in a lot of different ways, because it really denotes this sense of having to go through everything and kind of being called into this transformative sort of energy of rebirth. Like, it's very much aligned with the energy of death, but this is a little bit more of like this spiritual aspect of it, if that makes sense. When I think of Judgment, I think it's very much of like, if I were to be called up right now, you know, am I happy with the things that I've done? Am I happy with like the life that I've lived? Have I done the things that I thought I would be doing moving forward? And if I haven't, why not? So I think Judgment is here, and it's kind of allowing us to take a step back and to kind of look at, you know, what have we been doing? Where has our energy been going? Have we really been in alignment with the things that we value and how we value them? And if not, then maybe this is a good opportunity for us to kind of sit back and look at, you know, what am I working towards? Or what is it that, you know, really truly speaks to my heart and what's going on and what I value and what's important to me? So I think Judgment, as much of as this energy can feel a little bit confusing at times, because I do feel like it's one of these cards in this energy that can be a little bit like, what the flip is going on here? We're kind of being told like, hey, what are we doing with this energy? What do we have? You know, what are you being called to do? Basically, is I feel like the energy of awakening or of judgment, because it's kind of saying like, what has needed to end? What sort of revelations are you receiving right now? What is essentially like your higher calling, in some ways too. I think like, again, I feel like there's a very spiritual element that comes with the energy of judgment. So maybe we're starting to see what we've been focused on, what we've done, what we need to let go of, and what the consequences of those things are. Because again, everything that we do, you know, there's going to be some sort of energetic reaction, whether we realize it or not. And so I think it's very much a time to take a step back, let things go, forgive, move on, and try to do something that feels more receptive towards like the sort of energy that you want for yourself. And I feel like that is very much in alignment with retrograde energy. I think a lot of us are kind of like, what's going on? We're kind of reviewing, we're kind of, you know, like looking back at ourselves and trying to figure out like, you know, where's our energy really focused on at this time, and what sort of things do we really want for ourselves. So I hope that this reading makes sense. I want to say thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you have a beautiful full moon. Actually, let me pull a moon message card and then we'll finish this reading. Give me 1 second. All right, we got to get a moon message. I don't even know who I am these days. I'm not even thinking. All right, let's get into it. So what do we need to know as a collective for this lunation? So we have embrace uncertainty. Well, that's not very nice. I am very much a Taurus in a lot of ways. Okay. When I think of the word uncertainty, I will say that it doesn't make me feel warm and fuzzy inside. And I'm sure a lot of people are probably like, oh, it's not a big deal, whatever. And I think with everything that has been going on in the world and a lot of the general kind of dissatisfaction that I think a lot of us are feeling with the opportunities or the lack of, you know, doors opening in some ways, some of us are kind of being forced to really take into account like what this will mean for us in the long term, or I think a lot of us just don't really know what's going to happen next or how things are going to go. And I think that this is kind of a universal thing, maybe even just like a very strong energy that is kind of hard to tune out of. So I think that it's kind of talking about embracing the things, embracing the knowledge that we don't know what we don't know. And as someone who is very, used to be very much a like plan everything out, have everything focused, try to know everything that was happening in my life. I can just tell you that this is one of the lessons I've had to learn in a very hard way in so many aspects of my life, and it's never comfortable. So I think that given all of our cards today, we're kind of being told, hey, we're just not going to know. We're just not going to know, and that's okay. I know the Taurus full moon can seem very much like this energy of like, oh, I can really like focus on what I want, trying to manifest, trying to complete things, trying to kind of open myself up to things. But I think that at this point in time, we just have to be very receptive to the possibility that no matter what it is that we are going through, we're just going to have to walk into it, right? Whether we know what's on the other side or not. It's more about us understanding that our journey is something that is the most prevalent or significant aspect and element of what we are experiencing versus like the place and point that we would like to land on. So I hope that this made sense. Maybe I didn't end it on the best note, but that's okay. You know, again, like I said in the last reading, it's not always going to be like, you know, sunshine and rainbows. Unfortunately, that's just not how life is. We have, you know, different things that can allow us to really focus on the, you know, perspectives that need to shift, the elements within ourselves that we're ready to kind of address. And, you know, again, I feel like this is a wonderful time for us to really focus on shadow work, to focus on, you know, the slowing down of like the things that we're doing, to kind of wind down and really dig a little bit deeper. So I hope that this reading finds you well. Let me know what you guys think down below. Please take care, stay safe, and as always, make good choices. Bye.